The divide between UK voters in this election has a new twist. Age, rather than class or income, is now a good prediction of who will vote for Labour and who votes for Conservatives. Now, one academic explained the change to Al Jazeera.
I'm Dr. Laura Serra, and I'm a researcher in electoral psychology and behaviour. I research how age and generations affect political attitudes and behaviour. And what I found is that in the UK, when it comes to voting, age is the new class. It doesn't really matter what your background is, but rather what your age is. Young voters just have stopped voting at the same rate as older voters. But then when they do vote, they tend to vote Labour to a much higher rate than older voters. And this gap, instead of remaining stable, has increased at every election since 2015. Brexit for young people was a very significant moment because it kind of awakened this political consciousness, and that's when we see turnout increase again. The common narrative around young people's interests is that all they care about are social values, progressive values. But what they care about the most is the economy. And in the UK at the moment, young people are really struggling financially. They find it very difficult to buy a house, and that's something that is very important in this country.
For me personally, it's housing, be for being able to get onto the housing ladder.
On the other hand, for older people, the economy doesn't actually matter as much. They do care a lot more about
immigration, because it's affecting everything.
So there is somewhat of a misconception about what these groups actually want, and parties are not necessarily tapping, into the right issues to try and attract them. One of the new developments that we've noticed in recent decades is that young people today effectively stay young for longer. So in the past, things like buying a house, getting married, having kids, and starting a full-time job would happen in the early 20s, mid-20s, maybe at the latest. And this is important electorally because these things affect how you vote. The traditional dynamic was that the older you get, the more money you make, the more likely you are to become right-wing. But what's changed now is that you start being in this financial position much later in life. And by that point, you have been voting for a left-wing party for many, many years. The more time passes and the older these voters get, the less likely they will be to vote for the Conservative Party. Every party should really have an interest, in trying to attract these voters, but only a few seem to be going in that direction. It will be interesting to see what's going to happen this time round.